Yes, August is here. Fall camps are starting, but that does not mean we can forget about recruiting because today we need to take a look at what an elite job Nick Saban and the Crimson Tide continue to do on the recruiting trail as they've added in 2 new additions over so many days. We need to discuss the incredibly important addition of Hunter Osborne, the defensive lineman, as well as Ty Lockwood, a prospect they managed to flip from Ohio State and is at a position of big need. Before we jump into this, as always, y'all know the drill. I need to hear from you. Hop down to the comments. Y for yes, N for no. Are you excited that Alabama lands both Osborne and is able to flip Ty Lockwood from the Buckeyes? Let me know what you're thinking. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Hit that bell notification as I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it. And guys, something a bit different today. I'm going to put a link down in the description for clearthelists.org. Now, this is something that I think is awesome, something that I'm really interested in. It's an organization that is helping teachers get their classroom supplies and get everything in order before the new school year begins, and they're allowing people to donate in order for teachers to be able to get their supplies. So if you're feeling compelled, please hop down to that link, give what you can. But now let's refocus into some college football and especially the unbelievable job Nick Saban and the Crimson Tide continue to do on the trail. Because just as this summer began, once again, Alabama was sitting comfortably outside the top 10, but many around the Crimson Tide program and many Alabama fans sat patiently waiting, not worried at all. Because we've seen time and time again, Alabama have a slower start to a recruiting class, but by the end of the summer, they are rolling and it doesn't look to stop. And that's exactly what we see once again. Because the Crimson Tide had arguably the greatest July in recruiting. That's a video that's going to be coming out, and I don't want to give any spoilers there, but be looking out for that one. Because several institutions had huge Julys, but Alabama's was a little bit unreal in all the talent they were able to get. But what better way to keep that momentum rolling than by continuing it in the month of August? And we need to first talk about the 4-star defensive lineman out the state of Alabama, Hunter Osborne. 6'4", 260 pounds, and coming in as the number 130 player in all of high school football. This is a huge addition, and the reason is quite simple. We can talk about the athletic ability Hunter Osborne has, and he certainly is full of that. A disruptive defensive lineman who is really ferocious at the point of attack, someone who I can't wait for them to get into a college strength and conditioning room and under the tutelage of Freddie Roach. But it's also a huge win because of the need of defensive linemen in this class for the Crimson Tide. Look, in a perfect world, Alabama would have landed Peter Woods, but given the immense amount of talent in the state of Alabama, and given the way Alabama recruits in general, there's a lot of options still on the board at defensive line. An addition such as Hunter Osborne is one of the many ways you can make up and help mitigate the loss that Peter Woods was. Because at the end of the day, Alabama is still loaded in terms of defensive line talent in the state alone for the class of 2023, not to mention all the talented defensive linemen not located in the state of Alabama. We have to imagine that Nick Saban and the Crimson Tide will be just fine when it comes to defensive line recruiting, but a win such as Hunter Osborne is a win that takes just fine and takes it to the next level. Instead of just fine, this is a win that helps you flourish at the defensive line position, something Alabama has been able to do as well as anyone in the nation, something they look to continue to do. But with this addition, that gave Alabama 17 prospects and pushed them to the number 2 recruiting class in the nation, but also fielding the highest average recruit rank in the nation, as well as the fewest prospects within the top 5. Fast forward to today, and now Alabama has climbed to the number 1 class in the nation with the addition of 4-star tight end, former Ohio State Buckeye commit Ty Lockwood. And this is another big-time addition, because if we look at the importance of the tight end position going forward in terms of recruiting, it's great Alabama has been able to put in the work they have over the previous 2 cycles. Last cycle and then fast-forwarding into this one with the addition of Ty Lockwood. Because there's a need for Alabama at the tight end position, especially with Jaleel Billingsley testing the transfer portal and ending up with the Texas Longhorns. Yes, Cameron Latou is still on roster, and I think everybody expects him to build off of the year he had last year. But what about the depth outside of Cameron Latou? Who's going to be a guy that makes the defense aware of their presence? Will it be Amari Nablack? Will it be Elijah Brown? Will it be Danny Lewis? Or could it be the community college transfer coming in, Miles Kitselman? What we do know for certainty is that Alabama addressed a need last cycle. They identified a need and then were able to get in 4 very talented tight end prospects that I know Alabama fans are incredibly excited about. But with all those guys on campus, what better way to ensure your tight end room is going to be good than by continuing to recruit it at a high level? And that's exactly what they're doing in flipping Ty Lockwood. Look, it's always incredibly impressive whenever you're able to land a top 300 prospect. That's why we talk about recruiting at the rate we do, because this is the building blocks for your program. But it's even more impressive whenever you're able to flip a top 300 prospect from an institution like Ohio State. At the end of the day, one thing we need to realize that this is Nick Saban's world. We're all just kind of living in it, and until he steps away from the game, or until he gives me a tangible reason to not believe in him, I find it surprising that some people continue to doubt him when he's given them no reason to doubt him. Every twist and turn that's come in college football, he's adapted. I've talked about this before. We can talk about several qualities that I think separate Nick Saban, whether that's X's and O's, whether that's his ability to be a CEO and a manager, but I think overall, the thing that really separates Saban, in my opinion, is his adaptability. Because it doesn't matter what change has come down the pipeline through college football. I bring this to your attention to bring up that Nick Saban has been successful through so many different changes in college football, from BCS to playoff, from traditional pro-style offense to spread offense, to traditional hard-nosed defense to this fast, fly around the field, sideline to sideline defense. There Nick Saban has been. If something stops working, Nick Saban is going to pivot, he's going to adapt, because his will to remain on top of the game is bigger than his pride. And I think that's what's allowed him to last as long as he had and be at this level for as long as he's been. Because he swallows his pride. And he understands that adaptability is the key to success in an ever-changing landscape. But whenever we focus in on this, Alabama now has the #1 class in the nation with plenty of big-time prospects still on the board. And I've been saying this, screaming this for about a year now. This is going to be a special class. Remember when Alabama signed that 2021 unit, and I said then, when they broke the all-time record for best recruiting class, that the 2023 class could actually break the 2021 record. Now the question will be, can they break Texas A&M's record from last year? That's one we have to see. But look, I will never count Alabama out. I will never count Nick Saban out. And as long as he's the head coach, you're not going to hear me say they can't break A&M's record, because they currently have 4 5-stars committed. Richard Young is on Twitter trying hard as he can to flip the 5-star defensive end committed to Notre Dame, and they're still in a ton of battles for some of the top players in high school football. This is why Nick Saban and Alabama garner the attention they do, because they recruit at a level like this. I can't wait to hear from all of you. Hop down to the comments. Let me know what you're thinking about this, because what a way to start off the week, going 2 days, 2 prospects that I know will incite a lot of excitement amongst the Alabama Crimson Tide fan base. Hop down to the comments. Let me know what you're thinking. That's it. See ya.